The autumn wind howled across Blackrock Island like a creature possessed, rattling the windows of the lighthouse with such ferocity that Eleanor Hartwell wondered if the glass might shatter. She pressed her face against the cold pane, watching the angry waves crash against the jagged rocks below. The lighthouse beam swept across the churning waters in its endless rotation, a beacon of hope in the growing darkness. Eleanor had been the keeper of Blackrock Lighthouse for 3 years now, ever since her grandfather's passing. At 28, she was younger than most lighthouse keepers, but she had grown up on this isolated island, learning every stone, every tide pattern, every trick the ocean could play. Her grandfather, Samuel Hartwell, had tended this light for 47 years before her, and his father before him. The Hartwells had been guardians of these treacherous waters for over a century. Tonight felt different, though. The storm approaching from the northeast carried with it an intensity that made Eleanor's bones ache with foreboding. She had seen many storms from this tower, but something about the way the clouds rolled in, black as pitch and moving with unnatural speed, set her nerves on edge. The radio crackled to life on her desk. "Blackrock Lighthouse, this is Coast Guard Station Millfield. Do you copy?" Eleanor hurried to the radio, adjusting the frequency. "This is Blackrock Lighthouse. I copy, Station Millfield. Eleanor, this is Captain Morrison. We've got reports of a fishing vessel that went missing about 6 hours ago. The Sarah's Dream, captained by Thomas Mitchell. 3 souls on board. Last known position was approximately 8 miles northeast of your location. With this storm moving in, we're suspending search operations until dawn. Keep your eyes open, will you?" Eleanor's heart sank. She knew the Sarah's Dream well. Thomas Mitchell had been bringing his small crew past her island for years, always giving a friendly wave and horn blast when weather permitted. The thought of them lost in these waters, especially with the storm approaching, filled her with dread. "Understood, Captain. I'll maintain watch through the night. If I see anything, flares, lights, anything at all, I'll radio immediately." "Thanks, Eleanor. Stay safe out there. This one's going to be rough." The radio fell silent, leaving Eleanor alone with the sound of wind and waves. She climbed the narrow spiral staircase to the lamp room at the top of the lighthouse, her footsteps echoing in the confined space. The massive Fresnel lens cast intricate patterns of light and shadow on the walls as it rotated, powered by the automated system her grandfather had grudgingly accepted in his final years. From this height, nearly 200 feet above the churning sea, Eleanor had a commanding view of the surrounding waters. During the day, she could see for miles in every direction. Now, with night falling and the storm approaching, visibility was dropping rapidly. She adjusted the binoculars hanging around her neck and began a systematic sweep of the horizon. The first drops of rain struck the lamp room windows as she searched. Within minutes, the drops became a steady patter, then a driving rain that reduced visibility to mere hundreds of yards. Lightning began to flicker in the distance, followed by the low rumble of thunder. The storm was still miles away, but Eleanor knew from experience how quickly weather could change on these waters. She made her way back down to the watch room, where her grandfather's old leather logbook lay open on the desk. Every night for 3 years, she had dutifully recorded weather conditions, passing ships, and any notable events. Tonight's entry would be grim: severe storm approaching from northeast. Fishing vessel Sarah's Dream reported missing with 3 souls aboard. Maintaining emergency watch. As she wrote, Eleanor's mind wandered to the stories her grandfather used to tell during nights like this. Samuel Hartwell had been a man of few words during the day, focused entirely on his duties, but when storms raged and the lighthouse became their entire world, he would regale her with tales of the sea. Some were stories of heroic rescues, ships guided to safety by the lighthouse beam. Others were darker tales, ships that had foundered despite the warning light, lives lost to the hungry sea. But there was one story he had never finished, one that he would begin to tell only to trail off, his weathered face growing distant and troubled. It was about something that had happened during his first year as keeper, something involving a ship that had appeared during a storm much like this one. Eleanor had pressed him for details over the years, but he would always change the subject, his blue eyes clouding with what looked like guilt or fear. A brilliant flash of lightning illuminated the lamp room, followed immediately by a crack of thunder that seemed to shake the very foundation of the lighthouse. The storm had arrived with startling speed. Eleanor grabbed her rain slicker and headed outside to secure anything that might be blown away by the wind. The moment she opened the door, the storm tried to tear it from her hands. Rain lashed her face like tiny needles, and the wind threatened to knock her off her feet. She struggled across the small platform that surrounded the lighthouse base, checking that the emergency equipment was properly secured. The inflatable rescue boat, the flare kit, the medical supplies, everything that might be needed if she spotted survivors from the Sarah's dream. As she battled to secure a loose tarp, another flash of lightning lit up the waters around the island. For just an instant, she thought she saw something, a dark shape riding the waves perhaps half a mile to the north. But when the next lightning flash came, there was nothing there. Eleanor made her way back inside, soaked despite her rain gear. She toweled off quickly and returned to the lamp room, training her binoculars on the area where she thought she had seen something. The rain and wind made observation nearly impossible, but she kept searching, sweeping back and forth across the storm-tossed waters. Hours passed. The storm reached its full fury around midnight, with winds Eleanor estimated at 70 miles per hour or more. The lighthouse swayed slightly, something she had never felt before in all her years on the island. The massive structure, built of stone and steel to withstand the worst nature could offer, was being tested to its limits. At midnight, the radio crackled again. This time, it wasn't the Coast Guard. "Mayday, mayday, mayday. This is the vessel Sarah's dream. We are taking on water rapidly. Position approximately." The transmission dissolved into static, then came back for a few seconds. "Engine failure. GPS down, can see the lighthouse beam." Eleanor's heart raced as she grabbed the radio microphone. "Sarah's dream, this is Blackrock Lighthouse. I copy your mayday. Repeat your position if able." Static answered her. She tried again. "Sarah's dream, do you copy? This is Blackrock Lighthouse." Nothing but the hiss of dead air. Eleanor immediately switched to the Coast Guard frequency. "Coast Guard Station Millfield, this is Blackrock Lighthouse. Emergency traffic." Captain Morrison's voice came back immediately. "Go ahead, Blackrock. I just received a mayday call from the Sarah's dream. They reported taking on water and engine failure. Transmission cut off before I could get their exact position, but they said they could see my lighthouse beam." "Roger, Blackrock. We're launching a cutter immediately, but in these conditions, it'll be at least 2 hours before we can reach your area. If they're that close to you, they're in the rock field. You know those waters better than anyone." Eleanor felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. The rock field Morrison referred to as a maze of partially submerged rocks and reefs that extended in a rough semicircle around the northern and eastern approaches to Blackrock Island. Even in calm weather, it was treacherous. In a storm like this, it would be a ship killer. "I understand, Captain. I'm launching the rescue boat." "Eleanor, negative. Do not attempt to rescue in these conditions. That's an order. You'd never make it back to shore." But Eleanor was already moving, her grandfather's stories echoing in her mind. How many times had he told her that a lighthouse keeper's first duty was to the mariners in distress? She grabbed her emergency kit and headed for the boat launch. The small dock on the lee side of the island provided some shelter from the storm, but launching the rigid inflatable boat in these conditions would still be extremely dangerous. Eleanor had trained for this scenario countless times, but training and reality were very different things. As she prepared the boat, checking the engine and emergency equipment one final time, she heard something that made her blood run cold. Voices, carried on the wind. Faint, but unmistakably human. Cries for help. She looked out into the storm-lashed darkness, and another lightning flash revealed what her eyes had been searching for. There, barely 200 yards from shore, a small fishing boat was being driven toward the rocks by the merciless waves. She could see figures clinging to the wheelhouse, at least 2 people, maybe 3. There was no time to radio the Coast Guard. By the time help arrived, the Sarah's dream would be matchwood against the rocks, and Thomas Mitchell and his crew would be gone. Eleanor yanked the starting cord on the outboard motor. It coughed once, twice, then roared to life. She cast off the dock lines and headed into the teeth of the storm.